first of all, great movie. I really got into it, and it really just it pulls on your heartstrings and your different emotions, especially as you're going through the story. Ari, I gotta ask, like, how was it to act in this? Because, like, I mean, you're a young man when you were filming this movie, and I can only imagine going through and putting that emotion within your role. It was just so well done,
Thank
so
you.
good. Let me know, how was it to delve into this character?
It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was also a challenge because before the movie, I've done like some short films in Mexico. So then I get this role, my first movie, first American movie, and I had no idea how to play a mute character. So and also I had to go to sewing soccer lessons, and also I had to take some English lessons, of course, to communicate with Mo. Um, and the main challenge was that Jesus is a mute kid. So I asked Mo, like, what do I do? He told me, well, Jesus just speaks to one person, to himself in his mind, you know, and we wrote a monologue of Jesus's inner thoughts, and throughout the shooting, when we were doing a scene, I had a dialogue in my head, and at the same time, Mo was giving me like directions, and he was giving me situations, so it was me like reacting to I was thinking and reacting to what Mo was saying, and that's like how we build Jesus, and I mean, it's thanks to him and to all the background work we did, and I mean of most of what I know now as an actor is thanks to this movie and thanks to Mo.
Yeah. And Mo, I have to ask the question, like, it was it had to have been difficult to not only write it but to direct it as well, especially as the subject matter is something that's very it's still pertaining to today and to what's going on now. What was it that you wanted to take this challenge and to really bring that to the screen, especially at this time where a lot of people seem to there's times where people remember and then times when people forget, and I think right now is the time where people are kind of forgetting about it,
Yeah.
where 4 or 5 years ago people were remembering things like this occurring.
You know, I mean, it's interesting because I think timing is out of our control. You know, and when I started working on the movie, um, I based it on a particular case. And as I was making the film, there were all these new cases that were coming out and stuff. But you know, the social side of it almost grew on me. That wasn't my initial, like, oh, I want to make this. I just love stories about heroes that are fighting life and death stakes, you know? Like, I grew up watching, you know, Spielberg movies and, you know, Zemeckis movies, and, you know, I'm not really a fan necessarily of the intellectual independent cinema. Like, I come as a real movie fan, and I wanted to do something that had the quality of a movie, that had, you know, thrills in it and action in it, but also did shine a spotlight on this subject, partly because, you know, my own family's from India, my father worked in a sweatshop, like having that kind of background, I was like, I couldn't believe it was happening in America. So for me, that was a driving force to try and be like, wow, you know, we're all good at pointing fingers at everyone else. We've got to look at what's going on in our own country. So, but it wasn't, I have to be honest with you, it's, you know, like Ari said, it's been the greatest experience of my life. I wish I directed a movie earlier and I wasn't a producer that made, you know, crappy, inconsequential films for money. That's not who I am anymore. And I think that the death of my mom in 2017 changed my life, because my mom was my best friend, and I said I'm going to commit my life to doing stuff that can have meaning and purpose. And so this is my first foray into that. So it's really rewarding for me to see how people are responding to it, obviously.
Yeah, but those initial films are what leads to what you are today too.
Yeah.
So That's the one thing that you make your mistakes on those early ones. And
Yeah,
then you
totally.
perfect now.
Totally.
Yeah, and Ari, to work with Mo and to really like, because there's some really like, there's a lot of scenes where I was just like almost to tears because it's just so it's so intense that even I wanted to just push pause sometimes and just take a little break. The physicality in your role and the physicality, especially since you're such a new actor. I mean, you really delivered at a level that some older actors don't. What did you do? What were some of the things that you pulled at in order to bring that out? Because you did an amazing job on this. I
Thank you.
can never say that enough.
Thank you, thank you. What I mainly used for this character is something that we call substitution, which is like putting real life memories and put them like in front of you and reacting to that. And not only real situations, but like real people, and like imagine them going through a situation and reacting to that. So yeah, I mean that's how we mainly worked to build Jesus. And while we were shooting, Mo was like giving me situations, notes, directions behind the camera. He didn't care about the sound. He was just like telling me all of that. And and I mean, it worked really good. I learned a lot. Like I didn't know how to use substitution before, and Mo taught me how to do it, and how to do it in a way that it didn't like affected me, you know. So and as I said, like we wrote a monologue of his thoughts. So we just like all these techniques to create the emotions, and as you said, it's a lot of physicality, and the challenge was to not go like over the top with that physicality, because it can look like I'm overacting, you know. So yeah, sometimes I went like over the top, and Mo would tell me like, hey, don't go too far, take it a little down. And sometimes I would like keep it too down, and he would tell me like, go a little up, and he would give me situations and reacting to that. And so yeah, I mean, it was a challenge, and I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful with Mo that he taught me all of this.
Yeah, and Mo, I'll leave the last question to you. Like, what are you hoping that the audience gets from this? Because there's so many messages that are gonna really hit people, and I think from all your acting, your writing, it's really just something that you hit a winner on this one, and I think it's gonna make a lot of people think after they watch this film. What are you hoping people get from it, especially when it comes out of theaters?
You know, I wanted to give people a very, very strong emotional experience. I wanted to break their hearts so that they would, because, you know, when our heart's broken, we change. That's just how it goes. Every time you get your heart broken, you're forced to evolve. You're forced to change, you know. Unfortunately, in life, I don't think, you know, people say, oh, I want to learn through, like, love and pleasure. And, you know, in India, we have a saying, it's called tapasya. It means purification by fire. Any real change, any real, you know, it's a law of physics. So I wanted to break people's hearts, and I wanted that heartbreak to anger them and incite them to action. I mean, I'm not a politician, so I can't sit here and tell you exactly what should be done, but I can definitely say that collectively, if we get angry and we're not happy about this, things are gonna change. It's that simple.
Yeah, and people who have the bravery to put stories like this and tell stories like this to show a different side and face the reality, I think really does help make change. And I think both of you did an amazing job. I cannot wait for people to see it and hear what they think about this film, because it's definitely one of those films this year you have to watch, especially on the big screen. Absolutely. So thank you both.
Thank you very much.